Hello, I'm Chris Holland, and this is shit you could have Googled in 30 seconds. The quandary for today and tomorrow? Where is the future I was promised? Growing up in the 70s and 80s, I'd read books upon books on futurism. I'd study concept cars, space colonization, and hypersonic surface effects vehicles. But certain things seemed to be standard fare in our predictions of the year 2000. Jetpacks, flying cars, and robot assistants. Yet here we are in 2020, and the future is nowhere to be found. Where is this vision of the future that we were promised? Well, let's start with jetpacks. We've dreamed of the sky since Icarus' ill-fated flight, but like him, our hubris outweighed our ability until recently. Even the genius of Leonardo da Vinci wasn't enough to take us aloft on wings of linen and wood. No, it wasn't until 1962 that Bell Aerosystems patented a working prototype of the small rocket lift device, the first true rocket pack. It used pressurized hydrogen peroxide so quickly that it could only fly for a total of 20 seconds before needing to be refueled, yet it made the most of those seconds, appearing in Lost in Space, Gilligan's Island, and 007's Thunderball. In the end, the weight of the needed fuel restricted flight time so much that it rendered the concept pointless. In 1984, NASA experimented with the idea with the Manned Maneuvering Unit, or MMU. An astronaut could wear the pack and work separated from the space shuttle. Lacking gravity to fight, it proved successful, but the tragic explosion of the Challenger caused NASA to reassess every aspect of the space program, and the risks of the MMU caused it to be cast off into history. And then there is the hydrojet pack, a mainstay at tourist traps that addresses the fuel problem by being tethered to a water supply, but range is limited to those hoses. It is also limited to an altitude of about 30 feet, falling far short of our dreams of commuting to work. But if you want a true jetpack, Jetpack International sells the T-73 turbine jetpack for a modest $200,000. For the same price as a Ferrari California T, you get 9 minutes of flight time. So, what keeps it from becoming the reality that we want? The costs are prohibitive, the range is limited, and the lack of ability to carry groceries or cargo severely limits its practical applications. On top of that, one has to think about the liabilities involved and how to mitigate those. What happens when they experience sudden power failure over a playground? How do we keep them out of the way of commercial aircraft? How do we ensure the rigorous training needed and the expensive maintenance required? The questions aren't worth the answers, honestly, if you can't carry home Krispy Kremes and whiskey at the same time for your investment. So, how about the flying car? That definitely has more practical appeal, carrying passengers and cargo back and forth. Long before the Wright brothers had their first successful flight at Kitty Hawk, a design for a flying steam-powered carriage was patented in 1841. Obviously, the technology for both car and flight had yet to come, but you can't blame them for dreaming big. The first functional flying car hit the skies in 1937, built from a modified Studebaker. Only 5 were made, but 10 years later, they would be followed up by the Convair Model 118. Quite literally, a car bolted underneath a plane. It flew once, stayed aloft an hour, and crash-landed, ending as ridiculously as it had been conceived. In 1973, the AVE Mizar repeated their results, this time bolting a Ford Pinto under the plane and similarly crashing on its maiden voyage. More promising was the 1966 Aerocar. It had wings that folded away, reducing its size for street use. The car could reach 60 miles per hour on the ground, and then after deploying the wings, it could hit 110 miles per hour in the air. Unlike the prototypes, however, the business just didn't take off, never reaching the production stage. Arguably the most advanced looking contender yet was the Molar M400 Skycar. In 2003, it performed test maneuvers while tethered to a crane for safety. But after 40 years though, and $100 million in development costs, a tethered test was underwhelming to investors that had been led on with pre-orders since the 90s. Add to that securities fraud and the resulting fines, and Molar International became a total loss, shuttering its doors in 2015. 2009, however, held redemption for flying car enthusiasts. Terrafugia unveiled its $200,000 Transition. Resembling a cross between a sedan and a Cessna, with wings that fold up on the sides, it has proven itself capable of flight and road use. Unfortunately, delivery of the promised vehicles has been delayed multiple times, currently being refitted with upgrading emergency safety systems and a modern hybrid powertrain. All the same, in anticipation, New Hampshire has already been addressing laws to facilitate bringing the flying car to state roads. Most recently, Aeromobile has been unveiling updated versions of their supercar plane crossover every few years. Going back to redesign it over and over, they never seem to get any closer to their actual expected commercial launch, although they have had many successful flights and one not so successful crash. Their website currently claims sales of the Aeromobile 4.0 will launch this year, while also teasing speculators with a CG mockup of the 2025 Aeromobile 5.0, a supercar that transforms into a helicopter for vertical takeoff and landing. Even Uber has gotten in on the hype, discussing the supposedly impending launch of its Elevate project, aerial transports for commuters. But although they call it a flying car, it lacks any sort of roadworthiness, being more of a short transit VTOL. So between the delays, promises, and mishaps, we still haven't gotten our flying car. And although this may sound ridiculously overdue, there are a lot of complex variables to address. Do we really want our flying car to require airstrips? That defeats the convenience factor. The alternative would be VTOL, capable of vertical takeoff and landing. But VTOL jets use an obscene amount of fuel and create levels of noise that will have your neighbors chasing with pitchforks. That leaves a classical helicopter as the last option, such as the PAL V1 or this Aeromobile 5.0. But those two are nothing but delays and promises. If we can accept airstrips or silenced jet exhausts, then there isn't much of a technological barrier to achieving a true flying car. Our barriers seem to come more in the form of red tape, safety concerns, and capital. These seem like obstacles that we will surpass with a little more time. Last but not least, we are still missing our domestic robotic assistant. Rosie the robot, Bicentennial Man, even Rocky Balboa had Psycho at his disposal. Man first conceived tools such as levers and wheels to escape the burdens of labor. As we evolved, so has our technology, becoming transistors and microprocessors. It would be natural then that we use these modern innovations to create the tools that can assist us with modern burdens, such as maintaining the household. When most homes require 2 full-time incomes to survive, then there's no shame in needing some help. Domestic robotic assistants can cook, prepare shopping lists, clean the house, and even attend to minor repairs. They can converse, answer the door, and make sure the home is safe and secure. Considering the qualifications, I'd argue that they're already here. Between Siri, Alexa, Bixby, and Google, I can strike up conversations, turn the lights on and off, to control the thermostat, and arm the alarm. Roombas run around cleaning the floors while a smart fridge sends shopping lists to Amazon. The Internet of Things, this synergy of home automation, information technology, and artificial intelligence has supplanted the position that Rosie once held. But I know you came here looking for a robot, and I hate to disappoint. OpenAI, a nonprofit research group, has been reprogramming warehouse robots with deep reinforcement learning to acquire completely new skills that would be difficult to program by hand, such as folding laundry or retrieving objects. Aeolus Robotics unveiled a design that is capable of cleaning, organizing, fetching beer, and distinguishing faces. And if you're hungry, Molar Robotics has built a robotic kitchen with computerized hands capable of whipping up a collection of recipes. For those needing extra care, the Robear can gently lift and carry those that are mobility disabled, while Romeo attends to those in cognitive decline, offering conversation, companionship, and mobility assistance while also keeping up with medication schedules and recognizing when to contact emergency services. As amazing as all of these sound, They all exist as research projects and proof of concept. So far, we don't have one singular automaton that can handle all of these tasks, but we have all of the parts separately being improved upon. The same way laptops, cameras, and MP3 players converged into the modern smartphone, these robotic technologies will converge as well until we have one robot that does it all. By then, though, they may be so smart that we're the ones cleaning their houses. I want to thank everyone for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe if you aren't already a subscriber. You'll find the resources and links for this video in the description.